Okay, welcome back. So this is part two, and we started off. We were talking about the possible war coming up, Psalms 83, and this was alluded to a sign that we found in Virgo on the first blood moon, which is 2014, April 15th, and we have a full blood moon lunar eclipse in the womb of Virgo, and Mars is also in Virgo as well. So. Uh, Pretty prophetic as far as some sort of war coming to Israel. We talked about how this is the seed of the woman, which alludes to the branch and the actual seed, which is the Virgin Mary bringing forth Jesus Christ as the king when we go back to our September 23rd, 2017 sign. So this could allude to a war starting in Israel is what I'm thinking. And I showed you how Israel is also compared to the seed of the woman as well, because it brought forth a king from a nation. This is where this lunar eclipse falls in on the biblical calendar, first blood moon, total lunar eclipse. Now I did look at this as well, this annular solar eclipse, and it happens at Aries. I did not see anything significant firsthand on this solar eclipse yet, but it does happen right at kind of the foot of Aries, and I showed you that on my last video as well. So what war are we talking about? There are, I believe, um, three major wars that are during the tribulation. You have Psalms 83, you have Jeremiah 50:51, which is America, the daughter Babylon, and you also have Ezekiel 38 and 39, which is the Gog-Magog war, and you have the final war, which is Armageddon, so four total, which is Armageddon, which happens near or around Israel, and when Jesus Christ returns, and it says in Revelation that Jesus will speak the word, and the enemy will be destroyed, and it's pretty much that simple. I believe Psalms 83 starts everything off. And I believe it starts it off after Jeremiah 50:51. So I think the fall of America will happen first. And if you research Jeremiah 50:51, it definitely alludes to America. And if America falls, then does Israel have any real allies? Not really, not anymore. If America falls, which leads me to believe that Psalms 83 will happen next. Or you also have Isaiah 17, which is Damascus falls. And it could be a combination of the two. Interesting enough, when you look at Ezekiel 38 and 39, the Gog-Magog war, which is an invasion army from the north, and I believe it's Turkey and Russia and Ethiopia and some other countries, actually attempt to invade Israel again. At this point, though, if you look at those two chapters, it says Israel is dwelling in peace, and they are dwelling in riches. They have obtained a lot of wealth, they have obtained a lot of land, and they've obtained a lot of resources. And so it also says that God will put hooks in the jaws of the enemies of Israel to bring them out. So in other words, I believe that Russia and Turkey are hurting, either in oil or in their own resources, and then they try to attempt to go to war with Israel to capture theirs. And I believe those are the hooks in the jaws that God uses to pull them out and to go to battle. Almost like they don't want to go to battle, but they have to in order to survive, essentially, it seems like. But they find Israel dwelling in a lot of wealth and a lot of land. And I believe Psalms 83 is where they get it, and I'll explain why. So Psalms 83 has an interesting little piece of history that goes back in 2006. And what happened was, and I'm not going to read this verbatim, I just have it up here so you can look at it on your own, but what happened was a construction worker in Ireland came across an ancient 20-page book dated approximately 1,000 to 1,200 years old. He was operating a backhoe shovel, and it was in the mud. And this wasn't an archaeological find. This was a construction worker finding this. And this document was written in Latin, and it was open to the page of Psalms 83. Now, this was found in July 2006, and what's interesting, and I'll get to that in a second, but more on this find. So, it was called, it was all over the news as a miracle find, and that this was prophetic, and they found this in a bog, and they couldn't believe it. And what was going on during that time when they found it was called the Lebanon War, 2006 Lebanon War, and also known as the July War. Now, what's interesting is this conflict took place in northern Israel with Lebanon in the Golan Heights area. The Golan Heights has been on fire recently, and what is happening in Syria is the fighting is spilling over into Israel. All right, it's gradually spilling over into Israel from Syria, and what's going to happen, and mark my words, I think what's going to happen is chemical weapons are going to be initiated through Syria. Either the rebels or the government itself is going to initiate the use of chemical weapons, and that's going to spill over into the Golan Heights. And if it does, Israel will retaliate, and I believe they could level Damascus, and that could be the Isaiah 17 being fulfilled at that point. And then shortly after that, I believe Psalms 83 will be executed. But the key here is Golan Heights. What you got to understand is Israel does not have the means to fight a long, drawn-out war. They don't have the resources for it. They can't fight a war like Russia could, or like China could, or even America could. They have to fight a war of quick, powerful, and high attrition. And the only way to do that is with the nuclear option. So I find that very, very, very significant. Golan Heights during this war, and then the Psalms 83 find in the bog, pretty interesting. And here's actually Psalms 83, and you have it's a psalm from Asaph, and it's a prayer essentially. And he must have seen this coming, and or it happened in the past, and we're known to make our own mistakes. I mean, we're known to not learn from history. It's very simple. But what's interesting here is it's come let us wipe them. Excuse me. Come let us wipe them out as a nation. Let the name of Israel be remembered no more. For they conspire with one accord. Against you they make a covenant. They're talking about the Lord. Against the Lord they make a covenant. And it talks about the tents of Edom, the Ishmaelites, Moab, Hagrites, Gabal, Ammon, Amalek, all these different tribes. And what I didn't understand when I read the chapter is like, well, who are these people? Well, they're right here. Any Google search engine or anything will tell you who exactly the Psalms 83 tribes are. And they're everything that surrounds Israel. Everything. So, the only holdout right now is Jordan. And Jordan could easily be muscled into this unification, this Arab unification. So just keep that in mind. Israel does win this war, regardless of what these guys bring to the table. Israel does win. I mean, it talks about it in the Bible. I mean, it says they acquire land, they take prisoners, they become very wealthy, they move up in military power. I'm sure they capture everything that these people have, that these tribes have, tanks, aircraft, whatever the case is, and become more powerful, and hence the Gog-Magog war will begin after that at some point. But this really isn't a study on the wars. I'm kind of looking at the signs, so I want to continue with that. Okay, so September 23rd, 2017 was our woman clothed with the sun, moon at her feet, travailing, giving birth, crown of 12 stars sign. So I did a look, and I was like, well, is there any other signs prior to this to give us a warning? And there is, and they're pretty amazing. So here's our September 23rd, 2017, and if you go to August 2017, the month prior, we have two eclipses. We have a partial lunar and a total solar. And what I want to show you is what's in these two signs here that show even more information as to what's coming. Okay, so on the 7th of August 2017, which I just showed you on the calendar, we have an eclipse in Capricorn. And, you know, it doesn't happen any way spectacular. It happens right when it crosses, right there. It's a partial lunar, so it's not a blood moon, but it happens right through Capricorn. And what I wanted to look at was, what is Capricorn? So it's kind of a strange sign. You have a goat, and you have a tail of a fish, and very mysterious, but that's what you have. Now remember, our last sign was in Aries, so I kind of am drawing a picture now of this. Kind of starting to make sense a little bit. So we have Capricorn, the goat, and the fishtail. Very strange. But anyway, what it means isn't strange. So we go to our literature, and it actually tells us exactly what this is. In all the ancient zodiacs or planispheres, we find the goat with a fish's tail. In the zodiacs of Dendera and Esna, in Egypt, it is half goat and half fish, and it is there called Hu Penius, which means the place of sacrifice, which could mean Jerusalem, the temple, or the body, or it could mean all of them. It's the atoning sacrifice in which the fish, which are the people or the church, for whom the atonement has been made. So it's the sacrifice. When we come to the sign of Pisces, we shall see more clearly in the points of the multitudes that redeemed hosts. I did a little piece that had Pisces in it. It was Revelation, the sign of Revelation chapter 15, I believe. And the Pisces, the two fish, are tied at the tail and being pulled down by Cetus, the sea monster, which is Satan. He has basically entrapped the people, the multitudes. And it is Aquarius, Jesus, the living water, who sets him free. But interesting enough, so you have a goat with the atoning sacrifice for the fish, which we are the fish, and the multitudes. The goat is bowing its head as though falling down in death. The right leg is folded underneath the body and seems unable to rise with the left. The tail of the fish, on the other hand, seems to be full of life and vigor. Pretty interesting. We talked about the Revelation 12 sign, mid-tribulation being the place where the abomination of desecration happens, in the temple in Jerusalem. And it's probably got something to do with the body. So I see this unfolding. Hope you guys see it. The sacrifice that comes, the sacrifice slain. So this was all about sacrifice, and chapter 12 in Revelation is all about the sacrifice as well. It's when the abomination of the Antichrist happens. In other words, he's going to put something so horrible, an abomination, in the temple that people are going to realize what's going on and flee. So, interesting enough, this is what Capricorn alludes to. So we had our Capricorn here, and our total solar eclipse coming up is right here. This is 33 days prior to the Revelation 12 sign. A total solar eclipse in Leo at the brightest star, Regulus. Multiples of 7 here, prior to the date. Now this is off the Gregorian calendar, so I don't know how much stock you want to put into it, but I thought it was pretty interesting that it was 7 and 21. 7th and 21st, the multiples of 7. So we go to this sign right here, and it's Leo, and it has an eclipse right there, right at Regulus. And let's show it on program. And there it is. Now, there's Regulus right there. There's our eclipse. Right at the foot of Leo the Lion. And I believe, whoops, I believe that this is a divine warning from God Himself saying 33 days from now is going to be something very horrible happening. And that's where it happens at right there. I mean, it's pretty wonderful. I believe God is saying you need to, after you see this, 33 days later is going to be something very prophetic happening. And we can turn this on and watch it actually in action. Go to the 23 September. And how everything will just fall into place. The timing is just amazing. And there it is. There's our Revelation 12 sign. So that's God's warning to us, if you're here, if you're left behind, to get out of Dodge. 3.5 years are coming to an end, and then it's going to get really bad. So here's some information on Leo. Revelation 1:17, fear not, for I am the first and the last. We began with Virgo and we end with Leo. It talks about the riddle of the Sphinx and different things here in the lion. But lion is of the tribe of Judah, aroused for rending of prey. It's seen in the Dendera zodiac. He's treading upon a serpent. He's coming back to win this fight. Genesis 3:15 will be fulfilled. He will crush his head. And if you look at my Revelation sign, you see him crushing his head. Actually, in Revelation 19. So, just some information you can read on your own. There's some information on Regulus, treading underfoot. And that's right where Regulus is, right there. The judge, it's named in the De Noble as the judge or Lord who cometh. I mean, the evidence is all there, people. All you have to do is accept Jesus Christ and change your life and live for Him. And you will not have to go through any of this. You see these signs. I mean, they match Scripture perfectly. They match the Bible perfectly. I can't stress it enough. All right, I'm going to have to continue with a part 3. So, and that will focus on nothing but 11, 11, 11. And trust me, you want to see that video. You are not going to believe. There's something in there that you are actually not going to believe. And so please, 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 please watch that video. It's amazing. God sends us this warning. Very, very wonderful warning in 2011. So please stay tuned for that. And please, if you haven't, please watch the rest of the videos. It makes this stuff make much more sense. In understanding the timing of everything is just perfect and how it happens. So please, thank you very much. God bless. Take care. Find Christ today.